In our attempt to obtain a peace of mind, we hide a piece of ourselves, hoping that no one pieces together that we need to be pieced together. Hi, welcome to episode 14 of Becoming Undeniable. Now, with what I said, what the heck does that mean? Let me try and explain it using an analogy. Let's say you have a hole in a wall in your house. We don't know how that hole got there, we just know that there's a hole. And let's say you try to cover up this hole in the wall with a painting of an artist you just found on Instagram. It's a beautiful painting, but you have no emotional attachment to it. It's just there to cover up that hole. Now, you could be making actual attempts to fix that hole in the wall, or maybe you are not making any attempts, or maybe you're making half-baked attempts to actually fix the hole in the wall, but there is a hole in the wall and it's not fixed, so you cover it up. And I think that's what some of us do. We realize that we're broken in certain places, that we haven't fully healed in certain places, so we hide those parts of ourselves, and we can't be vulnerable with people. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying you should just go ahead and start being vulnerable with anyone, but it's just something that I've realized. And it's not an intentional thing where you're trying to come off as perfect, or you're trying to come off as strong and, capable of handling everything, or trying to be a lone wolf. It's just how you are. And when I say how you are, meaning that's just how you've done things. You don't really feel the need to express yourself. You don't really feel the need to say, hey, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. And maybe you do that with certain people, but it doesn't really help much. So with others, you just kind of hide that. I don't know if that's right or wrong, because I don't know the people that we all have in our lives. But I think anytime we try to go for that sometimes temporary peace of mind by hiding a piece of ourselves that we would really benefit possibly from showing to people, I think it just goes, like, when that peace of mind inevitably runs out, we go back to square one and we have to come up with some other false identity, some other painting to cover up that hole in the wall. But I think at some point you have to realize that everyone has a hole in their wall, in their house. Not that everyone is broken in the same ways, but there's something broken about each and every one of us. Something imperfect, something that has happened to us in life that we simply can't seem to fully fix or grasp. And I'm not talking about things like addictions or vices or stuff like that. No. I mean just basic flaws or basic things that we don't like about ourselves, like insecurities, vulnerabilities. If you look up the definition of the word vulnerability, which I haven't done before this, but I'm sure it would just mean a weak point or something that's not fully guarded or fully secure. And I think that's what the hole in the wall is. That's what it represents for some of us. It's that part of ourselves that it's not fully guarded, or it's not fully strong enough to handle any sort of critique or any sort of pressure or any sort of attention. So we hide it because we don't want people asking about it, simply because it takes too long or too much energy to explain why there's a hole in the wall, because sometimes we don't even know how that hole got there. So to explain it to someone else is going to be an impossible task on its own. So I don't really have any advice for you. I just wanted to share and maybe try and come to a conclusion on what should be done when you're hiding that part of yourself. I guess the best thing to do is to confess, right? Talk to people about it. Show them that, hey, I'm dealing with XYZ and therefore I need you to do XYZ. Maybe that's what we need to do. And we have to be okay with the fact that they might not understand. We might want everyone to understand why we're doing what we're doing or why we're going through what we're going through. But I don't think people need to understand, because whether they understand or not, it's about expressing that love, showing that kindness in that moment. So if you're worried about showing that part of yourself, the part that you keep hidden, the part that you cover with aesthetics or something beautiful to try and mask the pain or mask the brokenness, I think you should reveal that to someone, or at least try. Now, if you're not in any position to do so, please don't. I am going to try to do that, or I've done that before, and I feel like a lot of us are hiding that part of ourselves that we think is imperfect, and that may be a flaw or a vice or an imperfection or basically something we haven't healed from yet. But like I said, I think we all have to realize that everyone has a hole in their wall, in their house. Not like literally, but more just mentally. And some people are just have worked on that hole and have worked on fixing that hole for a long time. So even if they haven't covered it with the painting, it looks like it's fine. But some scars are just still always going to be there. They'll always see the remnants of what was there. And I think once you realize that everyone has a hole in their wall, or has had a hole in their wall at some point in their lives, it makes it easier to be understanding of people, but it also makes it easier for you to share your story with certain people. And again, you have to make sure it's the right person or the right people. But once you realize, like I said, that people have holes in their walls, they have imperfections and things that they don't want others to see, I think it makes life not easier, but it makes things simpler to handle. It doesn't necessarily make things easier per se, more like it puts things in perspective and opens the door for you to possibly share that part of yourself with others as well. And once you share that part of yourself that you've never shared with others, once you connect that piece of yourself, once you show them that piece of yourself that you put far away and hope that they would never put together, that you needed to be put together, maybe they see it and they say, hey, here's my piece as well. I was hoping that I wouldn't have to show you this, or I didn't know if I could be able to show you this, but I'm glad you showed me yours. So yeah, that sounds weird. But yeah, I think that's it for today. I don't know what the lesson was. I just wanted to get my thoughts out. Thank you for watching. As always, Godspeed.